ACT Science Tutoring Packet Part 2. So now we work on experiments. A scientific story. I can do a scientific story, I can analyze a scientific story without really knowing what's going on. But it bothers a lot of people, so you really want to figure out what's going on. Look for the objective. They'll give the objective with these words down here about conducted to determine, was interested to learn, wanted to study the outcome of. Then you need to think about the method. All right, how did they do it? Sometimes draw a little picture or a little short summary. Oh, okay, yeah, you're going to see a flower in a minute. It's leaning towards the light, and then they cover it, and then they clip it, and so on and so on. And then the results, which really get you back to charts and graphs. What's going on in the results? Well, it looks like if they, that sort of thing. So here's things you can look at. I won't go through them in detail. You're smart enough to read them. And as a reminder, for those who haven't used these before, you want to hit the pause button a lot, especially when I'm going through the charts and graphs, because I can't fit them all. Pardon me, the experiments and the drills. I can't fit them all on one page, and you have to pause and go back and forth to see what's going on. So here's your first experiment. I'll zoom out so you can see it. Hopefully you can still read it. They're talking about plants, stuff like that, and they run a couple experiments. This one doesn't have charts and graphs. They just have experiments. So read the experiments. Question 1. Question 2, 3, and 4. So now I will answer them. Not going to go into great detail, but I'll answer them. So results of experiment 1 and 2 indicate that B, the tip of the plant, detects a light source. All right, when they covered the tip, nothing happened. 2, which of the following is the control? Well, that's plant 1. Control means nothing. Normal. Didn't do anything exotic to it. Didn't change it up. What I would find as much as possible in nature. And I've actually seen control experiments where they control how much dark they have on a plant. They have 24 hours of darkness to 0 hours of darkness. Well, for me, the control would be about 12 hours a day of light or 12 hours a day of darkness, depending on where you are. But they had a different control there. It was the top of the chart. So just watch out. You'll get it. 3 is C. Tip of the plant must transmit information because when we cut it off, hey, nothing happened. And 4 is F. Without a tip, it's not going to bend towards the light. So experiment number 2. This is their geology type stuff. So again, pause and read. Pause and read. Pause and read. And here's your questions. 1 and 2. 3 and 4. And your answers: D, H. Actually, let me go through them real quick. So which of the following would not be consistent in the black shell formation? So you might say, well, I'm not sure what's going on. Look down at the bottom. Black shell, snails, clams, oysters, periwinkles. Snails, clams, oysters, periwinkles, sponges. 2. Based on the information, it can be inferred the remains of ancient pine needles we found on which of the following types of rocks? Plant fossils. So it looks like coal. And I would double check all that, especially with that bottom one. 3 is B. And that's a little tricky because you've got limestone, black shell, coal, and then you're missing limestone here, black shell, coal, sandstone, and then you're missing black shell here, limestone, coal, sandstone. It's kind of hard to put that together. And number 4 is F, weathering. So a lot of people say, well, what about a rainstorm? Yeah, that's mild. They want a severe rainstorm and severe wind and all that. I don't even know what cohesion is, so when they throw that extra word in there, just ignore it. This is your physics experiment. This one's not too bad. It's actually got a chart, so read it. There's your chart. Again, people like to put their little arrows in there. And questions 1, 2, and 3. So what's going on here? Number 1 is B. That's straight up reading. Number 2, H. Gotta pull that off the chart. Do a little interpolation. Go between two values. And number 3, D. Read the chart. Compare things at double. See what's going on. Force is 8 to 16. Displacement's 4 to 8. Now we have actual ACT ones. Really hard to fit them all in. So they've got a fish tank with prey and all sorts of other fun stuff going on here. Pause and read. And then we come back here to our questions, which I can't quite fit. I'm going to zoom out. I hope you can still read it on one page. And the answers: B, J, C, F, C, J. Hope that made sense to you. Another actual ACT passage. So this is physics-esque, but really don't need to know a lot about physics to do it. So they're doing experiments. They've got a pendulum and all that. Experiment 1 with a table. Experiment 2 with a graph. Experiment 3 with a graph. And then question 17, which I'm going to answer here. So pause if you don't want to hear the answer. D, and then 18 through 22. H, A, F, C, G. All right. Now we come to the third and last passage that you will see on the exam. Conflicting viewpoints or fighting scientists, which is kind of funny that they call it fighting scientists. It can be, and you'll see this in a little bit, more than just 2 points of view. Hey, I think global warming is real. Hey, I think global warming is not. I think it's really bad and it's human caused. I think it's really bad but not human caused. They'll have all sorts of arguments. This is usually the longest passage. So if this one takes you a little bit above your budgeted time, that's fine as long as you are saving time on, say, charts and graphs. You might also have an experiment done where 4 students say, here's what I think happened, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one you really gotta read carefully without wasting too much time. Those are conflicting, those are not really compatible concepts. Here's the type of sciences you'll have. It helps some people, doesn't really matter. But here's the drill. How did continents take on the current shape? Now, careful with your prior knowledge. I thought it was pretty clear that tectonic plate theory was obvious. This guy, scientist 1, says no. Or actually says yes. And scientist 2 here says, remember, pause if you need to read it, says no. So, okay then. I was all biased when I first did this. Careful, don't let your bias get in the way. That's 1. That's 2, and notice how much verbiage there is. Notice how much writing and reading there is. 3. 4 and 5. So let's go through some answers. 1 is C. So that one is going to mess up scientist 1. Yeah, these things haven't changed in millions and millions of years. He's saying, oh, they change slowly as things go left, right, up, down. Scientist question 2 is G. All right. What claim would scientists 2 make to refute and say, hey, there's similar conditions. It's only one planet. It's not like they're that far apart, and they're all roughly at the same latitude. 3 would be C. There's tectonic activity in the middle of Eurasia. It's not along a coast. So this is really going to help scientists too. You don't have to have it all happening on the edges of the plates. And 4, this is geology, prior knowledge, straight up. Like I said, haven't been that many questions with prior knowledge. That one is one of them. And 5 is A. So they're both going to say, yeah, there's always been tectonic activity. This is going to disagree with one of them here, and this is just nonsense. How did life originate? Two differing viewpoints. By the way, pretty important to read this so you know what they're fighting about. So here's hypothesis 1. Here's hypothesis 2. Here's questions 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2. And 3. So question 1 is A. This is hypothesis 2 saying, you couldn't have done that. It was way too unstable. Question 2 is G. So you have to say, all right, well, whatever you did in your little thing there, the conditions had to be similar. And question 3 is A. That's straight out of the reading. A little tricky. There's a lot going on, and a lot of people do this, start crossing out answers, and then kind of get it that way, whatever the last answer is. And here's our third one. Will Earth experience another ice age? Hypothesis 1. Hypothesis 2. Questions 1 and 2. And questions 3 and 4. And answers. 1 is C. Which of the following discoveries clearly favor 2? More pollution in the air, the more the temperature drops. So yeah. Wait a minute. Let me back up, make sure I'm happy with that answer. Let's go through this. Canada's more snowfall this year than any other year. Doesn't really mean anything. When snowfall sticks to the ground, yeah, that's nice. Earth's bodies of water are becoming more polluted. Don't know where to go with that. So it leaves you really C, but if you look at the passage and dig through it, you'll see that it supports it. 2 is H. Just because ideal conditions are rare doesn't mean they won't happen. So that counters hypothesis 1. 3 is C. 1 and 2 only. Hypothesis 2, glaciation would be most affected in heavily polluted and the polar. Humid has nothing to do with anything. And they do that a lot where they'll have an answer that might ring a bell somewhere in your past studies, but the reality is it's not mentioned in either of the passages, so you got to skip it. And 4 is G. High level pollution leads to a blanketing effect, yada, yada, yada. All right, that's all I have for drills. We'll do a couple of actual problems. This is an experiment where students get to talk about it, so go ahead and read through it. Hard to see down here, but this says 68.1. And so, what did student 1 say? Student 2 said, and student 3 said. And now we got questions. So I will start answering them here. So pause. 23 is A. 24 is G. 25 is C. 26 is H. 27, A, 28, F, 29, C. And comets. Actually, I like this passage. It's kind of cool. So here's the intro up here. And then scientist B is up the top right. Scientist A is in the bottom. And scientist B plus question 27. So question 27 is C. Question 28, H. And 29 and 30, D. J, that's a prior knowledge question. You have to know which planets are big. 31, A, and 32 and 33. J and D. That's really it. Good luck. My personal advice is to do at least a dozen tests. Let's make that more reasonable. 5 or 6 tests. But if you're serious about getting really fast at it, you cannot do enough passages. You just have to keep doing them so you get faster and faster and faster. That's the problem that most people have. If you're actually able to get them all done in 35 minutes, then 5 or 6 tests is more than enough. I've probably done a couple hundred passages, divide by 6 or 7, so add that up and go from there. Good luck. Hope everything works out for you.